Shalom guys, so I'm hoping that I can just get a quick little video out. I actually have a video right now on my computer that I am still editing that is part of a huge message. I haven't been able to get to the editing because there's been so much distraction around here, so I'm really praying about getting to the point where I don't really have to edit any of my videos. I wanted to do a study on the word for wait, and Alan did a study on the word Kawah, and this is actually a perfect example of what I've been talking about when it comes to the seeds of the good seed, and how all of the Otiot deliver the message of the living word. And so when you switch them out, it's not ever going to give you a different message that is not part of his word. And so Alan did the study on Kawah, which you see in green here, Kuf Beit Hey, and this was actually the wrong spelling for the word Kawah, which is the word for wait. But the reason why, I'm assuming, is because now in the modern Hebrew, the wa is a vav and is pronounced with a v instead of a w sound. So he probably saw the kavah and just assumed that it was a beit because he was most likely looking in the modern Hebrew, because that's what we have to do to find out these words. We have to look at the modern Hebrew and then translate to the ancient. But as you can see, if you think about it, the only oat that was different was the beit, which is all about pitching tents, and pitching tents has everything to do with waiting on Yahweh. And actually, we could go through the entire list of the 22 oats, and you could switch it out with every single oat, and you would still get a message in agreement with the word. Every single oat will talk about Kawah and how to wait for Yahweh. So I believe that this honestly is purposed by Abba Father for us to see this, because I've been trying to deliver this message actually and remind you that in the beginning was the Word. And the first time we see the written word entering in is when he was teaching Chanakh, which most likely, obviously, had to have been the ancient oats that we are studying, which all represent the concepts of life that he gave us to learn by. By the time that the Torah was written, that we are reading all these scriptures from, there had already been so much complication and confusion added into language in the entire world. They were already using Paleo-Hebrew, so the oats didn't even look the same. But all of the oats have still carried the same meaning, even all the way up until now, even right now in the modern Hebrew, even though nobody pays attention really to the original meanings, the deeper meanings, because that's how much confusion there is in the world today. But this is why I have said before that I believe that you could literally just go down to the 22 oats, and if you continue studying those oats and just let Abba teach you and reveal to you his ways, his whole entire word, all of his truth, is in those 22 Otiot. So this word Kawah, Kuf, Wa, Hey, it is about collecting and a cord. So the concrete is a cord, and the action is to collect. It talks about gathering, like being to be bound together, and it talks about to wait, to be held back by being bound. So picture at harvest time how they would use some sort of cord to collect their harvest and bind them together. When we talk about the idea of Kawah in his word, to wait on Yahuwah, which we see in several places, it is about being bound by him, by being held back by him. We all have things that happen in our lives that cause us to be immediately anxious. This happens pretty much every day to me. If we're not paying attention to Kawah, our anxiousness and our worry could cause us to take matters into our own hands. Sound familiar? If you remember my video on the roots and I used the word yare, the root word of that is just yar, and it's about the hands of man. So when we yare anything else, it's like we're taking matters into our own hands. Usually it's fear or worry that causes us to do this. He says, do not fear anything. Do not yare anything else. Yare Yahuwah only, and that is what Kawah is about. Wanting to be held back by him so that we don't act in the flesh and do something that was caused out of anxiousness or worry or fear. We want to be bound by Yahuwah. We want him to hold us back from acting in the flesh or being impatient and acting on somebody's words. Whatever the situation is, we want Abba Father to bind us. What is so cool about this whole thing is if you watched the live stream from this video, and I should probably mention this video of Alan's was the Firey serpents one, and then he ended up talking about another study. He did the word for wait, answering another question. And then if you saw the live stream with Caregiver, when we were fellowshipping about this, how crazy is it that she mentioned how this word reminded her, even though it wasn't the same word that he was talking about with the exact same oats, she was talking about this word tiqua, the word for hope, and that it reminded her of it, and she was talking about the kuf. And how amazing is it that the word for hope, tiqua, is actually the exact same word as Kawah. Kawah is a child root. It is 3 oats. And tiqua just has 1 oat added to the front of it. It is a tau, which is actually the mark of somebody who is truly Kawah, waiting on Yahuwah. Tiqua talks about something being fixed. And so if we're waiting on Yahuwah for whatever it is and we truly have hope, we know for a fact that he is the fixer of all things. And so cool, what I wanted to mention about this word is the scripture that talks about the blessed hope in Titus 2:13, that's Titus. I looked into some of the other words in that scripture, into the original language, and it's actually talking about eagerly awaiting our bridegroom to join him in marriage. Now, some of you are just like dancing right now with excitement, with no socks on, of course, because this is what we're doing right now, and this is the message that Abba Father is giving us. He's giving us this message to wait on him. We are eagerly awaiting for our bridegroom to join him in marriage. If you truly have tiqwa, if you truly have hope, then you have his mark on you, because you are in full agreement in your raying him. You are leaving it all in his hands. You are not allowing your anxiousness to move you. You agree with being bound by QAWAH, letting his cord wrap around you, not allowing you to move until he moves you. Remember the cloud in the wilderness. They knew when to move because they would see the cloud moving. And what moves a cloud? The wind, the ruach. We rely on his ruach to guide us and tell us when it's time to move and when it's time to Kawah. We are tied to him. We are yoked to him. You will not allow the matters of this world, or the words of people, or the whispers of Hashatan to unbind you from the Father, the strong ox who is leading you. So maybe now this whole idea of being held back by him and bound by him is starting to make a little bit more sense when we think about what he's been teaching us about being yoked to him. If we are the less experienced ox walking next to him, the more experienced ox who we are yoked to, and he is leading us because he knows the way, if we see something in the field that's distracting us, are we going to just jump out of the yoke and run after it? If we see a big log up ahead on the path, are we going to be like, oh, wait a minute, QAWAH, I see a big log that needs to be removed. Let me just take the yoke off really quick and I'll run up ahead and I'll remove it out of our path. No, he'll guide us around it. Sometimes that big log isn't even there. We're just seeing things. And I thought I would add this because we just did the Watch Therefore video, and this is on Matthew 24:42, and I have in green there the word that Alan did, which is Aleph, Tau, Ayin, Yod, Resh, Wah. Now, Alan looked this up in the Aramaic interlinear that I have as well, and that's how I used to do all of mine also. And if you look in that book and you see what they translated it as, they actually translated it as wake up, which is kind of cool. Now here is the Hebrew, and the reason I always do the Hebrew is because that's where I can find the roots. But remember, again, all of the seed is the same. The Aramaic and the Hebrew both came from the same seed, so we don't have to worry about it being different. But this is the word in that scripture, and I'm not really going to try to pronounce it. If you can see the three that I have underlined, oh yeah, and I have them circled there too, that is the child root, and I assume it said Yitzav or Yitzab. But I saw a translation in the original Hebrew that translated it as stabilize. So I wrote that word there too. But if you go all the way back to the child root and the parent root, they have the action to stand and the abstract of truth, which I thought was really awesome. And it says standing firm and fast as a wall. I hope you guys can see that because it looks a little blurry for where I'm at. But the parent root is tsad, beit, and it talks about the side of a tent. So we're talking about the tent walls. And I wanted to add that word in purple for a watchman. In scripture, a lot of times we see the word tsephah. And I know that we've all talked about this for a while. We used to say tsephah and Kawah, and I still say it all the time. And I don't remember why we even started saying that. Tsephah and Kawah. It had to have been from a study from Alan. I don't really remember going that far back. But it's all still in my mind all the time, those two words. And this is the word that they use a lot of times for watch or being a watchman. And the oats there are tsad, pei, he. And it is a covering of an area by watching. It means to watch, and the concrete is a watchtower. We are tsephah and Kawah right now. We are watching and waiting for our bridegroom to come. And just as any bride who is waiting to be a bride, engaged, and who is extremely excited about getting married, and that's all she can think about, and she just keeps on looking forward to that wedding day. If she's truly in love, she will be eagerly waiting. And doesn't that kind of say something about everyone out there who claims to love him? Are they eagerly awaiting him? Because it doesn't seem like it to me. I don't see a whole lot of people who are watching for him and eagerly awaiting. I see a lot of people busy with their own lives, just talking the talk. I'm really hoping that I can get some time to sit down and edit the video that's on my computer right now, because the message is all about how he is confirming his word to us right now. While I was filming that video, I wasn't planning on it, but some of my testimony actually ended up coming out, and then you guys will see actually why I need to edit these videos usually. But Abba is really working me through something, and he is showing me the way in all things. I am just waiting on him, as we all are, as he is continuously confirming his word to us. Just like Caregiver was talking about in the live stream today, how she was talking about he's confirming through all of us. He's revealing the same stuff to us, his witnesses. And so this is why I really just didn't want to be held back anymore by uraying my fear. And I'm gonna start to try to do these little videos where I can just talk for a little bit and then hit the record off button and just try and stitch these together. I don't really even know how to work the editing app I have very well. I only practiced with those 2 videos from Rainbow River. The third one that I made in Rainbow River, I actually brought my footage home and edited it on my computer. So anyways, you're seeing Tiffany go through a transition, and I am going to leave a little bit of my testimony in the next video that I'm editing right now. And like I said, you guys will know a little bit better of why I've been struggling and needing to edit these videos. But you know, I'm gonna tell you something. I actually realized that it wasn't really camera shy that I had, it wasn't really fear of the camera. It was actually fear of myself being revealed to the world. And that was because I had spent my entire life listening to Hashatan tell me that I needed to hide myself. Yeah, I believed him from a very young age, so I spent a lot of time trying to hide myself. And several months ago, Abba said to me, "Tiffany, I want you to reveal yourself." And he had me write it down. And I kept on saying to him, "Abba, how am I supposed to reveal myself when I have no idea who I am?" And he just said, "Walk with me. I'm showing you. I'm teaching you." So that's what I'm doing. Anyways, forgive me that you've been looking at the same picture pretty much the whole entire time. I pray that this study was a beracha, a blessing to you, and I'll see you guys again soon. Love you so much. Shalom. Okay, so really quick, I was just watching the videos that I'm stitching together, and I realized that I had the word wait really, really small, and then I didn't even put the word hope next to QAWAH, so I just wanted to get this up there so that I had it so it wasn't so confusing. Still learning. So, just so that you had that image there. And I also wanted to mention, I don't want anybody to be confused about the Hebrew and Aramaic. I can put a video in the link section that talks about Hebrew and Aramaic. We know for a fact that the original language was called Hebrew because that's what the Book of Jubilees says. But it's a possibility that at one point there was a time where Hebrew started to change and what was called then Aramaic continued as the original Hebrew. And I don't know if this is true or not. This is just one lesson on it, kind of one point of view. But I had shared that video with Alan, and he it became really clear to him. So he agrees with that video. And I don't know because I haven't done the research and haven't really been led to go beyond what I've already done. The bottom line is that once you start getting into the definitions, you just have to realize that putting the oaths together for the definitions is what the people did. It's what the Hebrews did. You know, Yahweh's written word was just his Otiot. And like I said, it has all the truth right in it. But as language was developing and people were learning how to write, to communicate, and, they would put the oaths together to form the words. And that's why we can see what they were understanding with these words. And so obviously when Abba Father was communicating with all of these people, they were writing it down in their language the way that they did and the way that they understood what he was saying. So I hope I explained that well enough. Anyways, I love you. Shalom again.